welcome to part 2 of the 7th issue of the Grim Gazette. I am T. Morris of OSI, Old Spirits Investigations. You can call me T Monster, or Twitch Dad. Every Tuesday, starting at 6, we go live, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I should say. We go live on Twitch, and we share this experience live. On YouTube, we put up an edited version on Fridays and at the latest Monday morning, so that you have something to talk about before we get to the next Grim Gazette. And this is the part of the Grim Gazette where we go into a deep dive. I go into a deep dive, I go into a debunk. We try to figure out if something is real, if something is not. And I got both a new thing as well as a follow-up. Got a new thing to go into, and we also have a follow-up. Now, in my chat right now is Arelis. We are mutual fans and YouTube friends with Ryan and Dave of Paranormal Quest. And when I said that I was going to be debunking two of my favorite teams on the paranormal on Paranormal Investigation, Arelis said straight up, I really am going to be heartbroken if it's Paranormal Quest. I'm here to say it is not Paranormal Quest. I love those guys. I love what they do. It is not Paranormal Quest. All right, I just want to get that. I just want to get that out there right now. In fact, it is not in any way, shape, or form anybody that we have talked about. Well, we have not covered already in a previous Grim Gazette, and I would not do that to Ryan and Dave because I love those guys. I love those palookas. I've learned a lot about how to film, edit, and do different things by watching Paranormal Quest, by watching Amy's Crypt, by watching Paranormal Encounters. So, yeah, it is not those folks. But I have talked about at least one of these two teams in great length of how much I'm a fan of theirs, how much I love them. And I'm going to show you an example of what I love about them in this clip right here. They are currently on Mackinac Island, and this is the stylings of the Ghost Brothers, teamed up with Expedition X.
Is this your hat?
Does it bring back any memories for you? That's 100% beaver.
It's the good stuff.
Good stuff. High quality. Come on out real quick for us. Right now, I'm not catching anything on the SLS at all. Maybe put the hat right there. Yeah. And I think I have the REM pod right here, actually. So I'll put the REM pod right beside it. All right, so just show up, do a little dance for us. I'm not trying to get you to perform or nothing, but.
I'm just gonna pause this because I want to make sure, as much as I love the dark synth wave, here we go.
No pressure.
No pressure.
But if you want to come, wear your top hat.
We got a hat for you, man. Tell them what we got the hat. We got the hat.
Beaver skin hat.
You don't get no finer than that beaver skin. Would you mind showing yourself on this SLS cam? Definitely feel the temperature change. Oh, whoa.
Some show up?
Look.
Right there.
Yes, and that's not the cameraman. We're right beside you. So, could you pick up your right hand for us?
Oh, it went up. There it's gone.
It's the felt. Okay, you got hype about the hat. That hat, too, can be yours. Just got to do a little bit more, man.
Yep.
The REM pod is getting electromagnetic field hit.
I see that you're very smart. You like that REM pod? We had an anomaly show up.
Real quick. Hey, remember the footage here?
Yeah, it was
the same amount of time, real quick.
Ooh.
Okay. Before we go any further, Let me just back this up a little bit. All right, so first off, let's talk a little bit about the Ghost Brothers, and let's talk about Expedition X. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Juan Damon and Marcus right there, those three guys make up the Ghost Brothers, and those guys are amazing. I've been a fan of theirs since show one. I absolutely love what they do. And Marcus is a personal favorite for several reasons. One, when they launched the show, he was pretty much the goofball, the plucky comic relief, as mentioned in Galaxy Quest. He was the plucky comic relief, and he would mug to the camera. He had the best expressions. I love Marcus, and we said as much in an episode of Old Spirits. So I'm a big fan of it, and also because they were the first, at least to my knowledge, they were the first like people of color that I have seen on their own show doing this thing. So then there's Expedition X. Expedition X are Phil and Jess. Phil is the skeptical scientist of the group. He's the guy that, he has done military ops. He has that kind of an analytical background. So that is what Phil does. Jess is a paranormal investigator, and they get sent off to investigate the unusual, the unknown, the unexplained, cryptids, UFOs, paranormal investigations. And sometimes they are joined by, but most of the time they are sent out to investigate by none other than Josh Gates of Expedition Unknown. Now, if you've never seen Expedition Unknown, you're missing out. I feel like whenever I watch Josh Gates, I feel like he is my brother from another mother. I love Josh Gates. And the point of no return for me wasn't his constant references to Indiana Jones, but it was when they're filming an Expedition Unknown in India, and he says in a voiceover, it's not like I'm going to suddenly break out into a Bollywood dance. And then the camera does an extreme zoom out, and he breaks it out with a cast behind him, and he is doing a full-on Bollywood routine. And Josh Gates is not a svelte, small man. He's a big dude. He's just a big, stocky dude. And man, he ripped it. He was great. So I friggin' love me some Josh Gates. I'm a big fan of the Ghost Brothers. I'm a big fan of Josh Gates and Expedition Unknown and Expedition X. I highly recommend you, if you have access to some previous episodes of Expedition X, look up his investigation of the Eloise Asylum just outside of Detroit. That is an incredible paranormal investigation. I really enjoyed that. All that being said, this is heartbreaking. So I'm going to go on ahead and play the clip, and I will see if any of my experienced, my experienced team, because I know that Spence is out there. I want to know if anybody catches this. So here we go. I'm just going to hit play.
Ooh. Jess, we got the REM pod going off. What'd you guys just do?
We just put our REM pod in the closet.
Can you make the REM pod stop?
Oh. Yeah, we're getting activity up here too. The REM pod was going off and we just asked it to turn off and it did it immediately.
And it stopped down here, so it's like it made its way up to you.
You think the REM pods are connected?
There's no way. 3 floors and a basement?
Ask the REM pod. Is whatever spirit up here connected to what's in the basement?
Is that your Bible?
Are you glad that we brought it back to you? That's spot on.
I'll play it again. But man, that hurts.
I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart. You broke my heart.
Now, as far as SLS hits go, that's actually pretty freaking good. But I'm not the biggest fan of the SLS either because it's real dodgy. I'm not a fan of the SLS because I used to be an Xbox owner, and let me tell you something. Its tracking, not that crash hot great. So using it to detect ghosts, you're asking a lot. It could barely keep up with me when I was doing not DDR. It was Dance Central. It was Dance Central. And sometimes the Kinect could not keep up with me. So I have that going for me, which is nice. But let's look at this clip again. And Aurelius, you get another one. Nice work. So let's talk about this.
The REM pod is getting electromagnetic field hit.
I see that you're very smart. You like that REM pod? We had an anomaly show up.
Real quick. Hey, remember the footage here?
Yeah, it was
same amount of time, real quick.
Ooh.
Jess, we got the REM pod going off. What'd you guys just do?
We just put our REM pod in the closet.
Can you make the REM pod stop?
Oh. Yeah, we're getting activity up here too. The REM pod was going off and we just asked it to turn off and it did it immediately.
And it stopped down here, so it's like it made its way up to you.
You think the REM pods are connected?
There's no way, 3 floors and a basement?
Ask the REM pod. Is whatever spirit up here connected to what's in the basement?
Is that your Bible?
Are you glad that we brought it back to you? That's spot on.
So, yeah. I'm not saying that they're faking it, but I am saying I am amazed that neither the Ghost Brothers or Jess, the experienced paranormal investigator that she says that she is, did not know or played up that she did not know about walkie-talkies and REM pods. This was one of the first lessons that I took away from watching Portals to Hell. Because you'll notice that whenever Jack had a REM pod or a Mel meter go off, he would just say, is anybody on walkies? Is anybody on walkies? He would say it over and over again. No one is using walkies, right? We're all off walkies. And he would later talk about this on his podcast, Ghost and Grit, about how, yeah, there were some producers that would basically use walkie-talkies to trigger this, to trigger REM pods. And one of the other things that I just noticed watching this again, and now this I do not fault, and I want to make sure I'm clear on this too. I am not faulting Expedition X or the Ghost Brothers on, but I'm gonna see if I can catch it. Okay, so that is the neutral position for a REM pod. If that center red light is going like that, it's fine. It's in the neutral position.
Anomaly show up.
Real quick. Hey, remember the footage here?
Yeah, it was
same amount of time, real quick.
Ooh.
All right, so we got the green light. We have.
Jess, we got the REM pod going off. What'd you guys just do?
We just put our REM pod in the closet.
And because they're talking on the
Can you
walkies.
make the REM pod stop?
Oh. Yeah, we're getting
And that
activity up here
center
too.
red light
The REM
is
pod was
there
going
as
off
a
and we
power
just asked it to
indicator
turn
that
off
yes,
and it did it
it's on and it's
immediately.
working. And of course, she lets go of the button
And it stopped
goes
down
off.
here, so it's like it made.
He says, and it stopped down here. Now take a look. We should be hearing something right there. We should be hearing something. And we're not. Yellow light's on. That's an alarm. If it's in the neutral position, it's going to be in red. And here's kind of where we talk about, and before they go, well, do you have anything to back that up, T? Do you have anything that you got to back that up? Yes, I do. And I will go on ahead and cite these guys. This is us. And this was one of my personal
a long compilation, and I'm going to...
And these guys. Yeah, these guys. I've heard nothing but good things about them, particularly the guy on the left. I hear that he is a handsome devil and makes some mean carne asada tacos. But let's take a look at what happened to me personally when this happened.
Talk you through most of it, but then I'm just going to go quiet on the last clip, because it's the last clip that really made me go, there's something there. There's something there. You have not seen this. Ooh, so here we go. So as I'm setting up, you're gonna see T nerd out a little bit because he thinks he's replicated what happened in the bathroom. Before we go lights out.
All right. So real quick, one, this is the old format of Old Spirits, the whole picture in picture and compilation of clips. But you'll notice over here. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That I blame code.gov on, okay? They got me to actually loosen up and decorate my my laptop. It's now become a thing. But what I want to point out is that here's my Mel meter. Here's Mel, okay? Mel's in the window, and Mel's ready to go. Then this happens.
The last time a train was here, we had...
By the way, if you want to have a quick solution to that, Cammie, what I do is I get the Jelliskin, which I know can easily peel off and peel back on, and I just get like a neutral cover for Jelliskin, and then I just put all the stickers I want on it. Piece of cake. Okay, sorry. Going back to this. Here we go.
REM pod in the windowsill.
So I got the REM pod in the window.
Off left and right. So I just wanted to see if it would happen again.
And what I'm trying to replicate is that a train is coming in. Okay, a train is coming in. And the last time a train came in, and we were investigating in the girls' bathroom at the candy factory, the REM pod just went nuts. It went absolutely nuts. Now, we had deduced that the metal pipes that you see on the left-hand side, there's some high EMF coming from here. But when we had it in this area, there was no EMF. Everything was chill. Everything was fine. The train started coming in, and before the train even arrived, it was just the REM pod was going bananas. So I'm trying to replicate this. I've got my REM pod in there. Watch what happens next.
My Mel meter, which is a REM pod.
Thank you, Pastor.
Team, this is second floor. Are we ready to go? REM pod hit, second floor. Train's here. Phil, are you ready?
See, it's going nuts. But see, I'm also on a walkie-talkie talking to the team on the second floor and the team on the third floor and the team on the first floor. And also take a look at how far away from it I am. So there's the Mel meter. I am off camera. So I was at least double the length from where I'm standing to the REM pod.
I was so excited, but wait. Lights out.
Was there a train outside the window at that time?
The train was coming in, just like last time. And I was very excited about this, but like I said, I'm gonna be this just real quick. We are lights out over. That was me. Now that could have been lights out, over and out. So how a REM pod works, if everybody wants to get a closer look at it, I'll back over this way. Copy that. There's one more thing I want to try.
So you see, there's a lot of chatter. Now, I'm receiving the chatter. You'll notice nothing is happening on the REM pod. But the moment that I send out a signal, the moment I get on the radio...
This is second floor, over. That could be the walkie-talkie. Yeah. It is the walkie.
Now you say that you say T baby OSI Investigations. No, Cammy, this was our season 2 launch. This was only last year. And when I saw that happen, I was like, all the episodes, because by that time I had seen several episodes of Portals to Hell, and I was like, I was like, this is why Jack was always asking, is anybody on walkies? Is anybody on walkies? Because that radio signal is interfering with the EMF signal that is surrounding the Mel meter. It's that instant hit of radio waves that triggers the triggers the Mel meter, and it's coming from walkie-talkies. So that was where I learned this very valuable lesson, and I've only been at this stage. We haven't even hit our second anniversary as a team yet. But Jess is an experienced paranormal investigator, and Dalen, Jawan, and Marcus, they are experienced paranormal investigators as well. So they should know the whole thing about, and I think this might be one of the reasons why you don't see REM pods on ghost hunters. You don't see REM pods or Mel meters because they do not have, they don't have that. They don't go into a space without walkies. So they're constantly in touch with each other. And I'm a little disappointed, but again, this goes back, and now a shot like this though, that's the producer's call. Because the producer has to be telling a narrative. The producer has to be telling a narrative. And this is one of the things that I also learned when I met some of these experienced ghost hunters, Jack Osborne and Jason Hawes. One of the reasons why we have not seen a new ghost show with Jack and Katrina, who worked really well together. And I, like I said, I love Portals to Hell. But they said, yeah, we're still locked into a contract with a production company that we're not really keen on working with again. And I got a better understanding of that when I had the Q&A with Jason Hawes, and I asked him and his team, and if you watch the video, you'll notice how much I was fearing for my life when I said, I noticed that you're debunking more this season, and you hadn't been debunking as much in previous seasons. And they took that as me saying, you guys don't debunk. And I really quickly backpedaled and said, no, I didn't say that. I said, I noticed you're doing it more on the show, and you had stopped doing it on the show for a few seasons. And I was trying to explain that, yeah, I missed that. I'd like to know what's changed. And Jason was like, oh, okay. And he, and everybody kind of settled down, and Jason was like, at one time we were on the move so hard, we just trusted our producer to review and take care of the show because we were busy going from one location to the next. And of course, I'm trying to also keep up with stuff that my kids are doing and so on. And we trusted the wrong producers. And they started cutting a lot of the stuff that we were debunking because they said, well, we have to tell the story. And and you can also go back to the Paranormal Personal that I did about this, where I talk about what a lot of these other groups do is they straddle the line between paranormal investigation and paranormal entertainment. And I want to say Jason and Jack are not the only ones that I've heard people talk about producers who say we have to follow a narrative. We have to tell a story. We have to follow a narrative. Well, for some of us, the story is the investigation. It's not building a false narrative. It's one of the things that's happening right now with the Charleston investigation that we're going to be launching in April with season 3. There's a segment that Phil really wants to feature in the show, and I'm like, no, we're going to make that a members only, and we got to film a disclaimer in front of it because we build this narrative based on what we're getting from the different ITC devices that we're working with But we could not find any corroborating evidence that these people lived in this house, that there was anybody in the area, that there was a murder. We couldn't corroborate any of it. That is very different from when we were at the candy factory, which again, if you go back to the episode, that particular episode, the part 2 that you saw where I did the false reaction with the walkie-talkie. In that same, later on in that same segment, we talk about the early reactions. In fact, later on, the REM pod goes off when the train is pulling in. Nobody is on walkie. Nobody is on walkies, and mine is actually turned off. And the REM pod is going off. Now, I did read somewhere, somebody claimed, well, I have had REM pods trigger in a moving car and have trains trigger it and buildings trigger it from a quarter of a mile away. I'm like, that's putting off one heavy duty radio signal. And I don't think that's not how powerful. Remember, REM pods are powered by a 9-volt battery. So I don't think that was and also the fact that it was a moving car. The thing is that any slight movement can trigger a REM pod. So I kind of, that I think is trying a little too hard. But we were able to replicate the train coming in and the REM pod going off. And then we also kept getting Edwin over and over again. Then we did some digging and we found out about the accident where 4 kids were killed and one of the kids' name was Edwin. Now that's building an accurate narrative that has got some corroboration to it. And whenever you're putting together a show, producers, it's going to be the producer's job. They sincerely do not care if you find anything compelling. They want to have something that keeps people coming back. Their job is to make a good show. So they are going to try to come up with any narrative to work. And it is documented that REM pods, while very trusted in the field by paranormal investigators, if you've got a walkie-talkie, all you got to do, you can have it in your coat pocket, you can have it behind your back, you can have it concealed. Heck, you can have it just beside you and then being filmed on the angle where the phone or the walkie-talkie is by your side and the camera doesn't see it. And you can go ahead and hit the walkie-talkie button and you can get a hit off the REM pod. You have to be very careful about that sort of thing. And I'm not going to say that the Ghost brothers and Jess were willingly trying to pull a fast one. I don't think that. But I do think it was sloppy investigation because they should have known. And if they didn't know, I'll be surprised. I would be incredibly surprised because that was something that when I figured it out and then I saw it on Portals to Hell, I'm like, oh, that was a rookie move on my part. So I'm not going to fault them. I'm not going to fault them for the way the show is edited. The yellow light is on instead of the red light and there's no sound coming out of it. I'm like, okay, come on, guys. But I would be incredibly surprised if the Ghost brothers and Jess did not know about the REM pod and how it can be triggered by a walkie-talkie. That would shock me. That being said, if they learn from the Grim Gazette that a REM pod can be triggered by a walkie-talkie, I do hope they give us a shout out in a future episode because I'm still a fan of both the Ghost Brothers and Expedition X, and I will continue to watch said shows. But I will probably be doing it with just a little bit of skepticism. But seriously, if you do learn OS, I would love to collaborate with you guys, both Ghost Brothers and Josh Gates, because Josh, I love you. I love you so much, bro. Okay. Is my fanboy showing? I think my fanboy is showing. Sorry about that. Let's get to the next clip that I wanted to share with you all. And I'm pretty excited about this. This is a return to the Crooked Pub. So in the interim between episodes, Tez actually reached out to me. And if you remember, Tez is the guy who hosts Very Nearly Interesting. He was really appreciative of the shout out, and he gave me the time code where the EVP occurred. And the funny thing is, when we were watching this, we were right on top of it. And I got to give a shout out to where it's due. So let me go ahead and play it, and I'll show you what he caught on that microphone of his.
On a crazy angle, nothing rolls down it. But there's also a strange phenomenon in this pub, that marbles roll up bank. Let me show you. There's a marble here for you spy tourists. Have you had to go yet? Marble. That's clearly going up bank. The problem is with this pub is you don't have an horizon for reference. You've got no way of centering your brain. You haven't got an horizon to be able to understand.
Spence, you were right. The voice that I thought was coming from the other side of the pub, apparently nobody was there. He cited it 7 minutes, 14 seconds in.
Up bank. The problem is with this pub is you don't have an horizon for reference. You've got no way of centering your brain. You haven't got an horizon to be able to understand which is the right way up.
And that is clear. That is clear. He did not hear that, and he even said that in the shout out clip that I believe he is keeping for members only. And I'll play that again for you.
Here for you spy tourists. Have you had to go yet? Marble. That's clearly going up bank. The problem is with this pub is you don't have an horizon for reference. You've got no way of centering your brain. You haven't got an horizon to be able to understand which is the right way up. I'm looking at that, and it's clearly going up bank.
So yeah, that was the EVP that Tez had caught on his show, and he came out and said, I really don't believe in that ghost stuff. I really don't. I just bought this microphone because I was told it was a really good microphone. I've never had that happen before. And Tez and I had a back and forth, and he was kind enough to point that out. So I wanted to play that for everybody. In particular, I wanted to play it for one of our mods the most, Resonant Moon, because they called that. They were like, "Oh, it's right there. It's right there." And I'm like, "No. I think that's somebody in the pub." Confirmed by Tez himself. He didn't hear that at the time. It was only after he was putting this episode together. And I want to say this is like his third episode or something that he caught that sound. I'll play it for you one more time.
Here for you spy tourists. Have you had to go yet? Marble. That's clearly going up bank. The problem is with this pub is you don't have an horizon for reference. You've got no way of centering your brain. You haven't got an horizon to be able to understand which.
And what's really amazing about that particular EVP, what's really amazing about that, the kind of microphone that he is using is a dynamic mic. This is also a dynamic mic. The dynamic mic, just to illustrate this, I'm going to move the pop filter out of the way. The dynamic mic is where you talk directly into it like this, okay? That is how you address any kind of dynamic mic. Now, if you recall, when I first started streaming, actually, most of you have watched. Where is it? It's like a comedy routine, isn't it? Do I not have it in here? I have the stand in here, but I don't have the actual mic. Okay. I thought I had another microphone over here. I do not. Okay, so we'll use this as an example. So, for those of you who have been watching this channel for a long time, you'll remember that I had a mic that was actually suspended like this, and I was speaking directly. It was off to the side like this, but I was speaking directly into it, not from the top, but like facing its label. That's a condenser mic, okay, a studio condenser mic. Studio condenser mic, you talk you talk to the front of the mic, With a dynamic mic, you talk to the top of the mic, okay? And what's amazing about a dynamic mic is that if I turn away from it, right, you'll notice the difference. A studio condenser mic is built that when you're talking to its face, it'll pick up every nuance around you. A dynamic mic is only supposed to pick up your voice and your voice alone, which is why the fact that it is that clear, it tells me that whatever he picked up, it was right next to him. It had to be.
Have you had to go yet?
Yeah, the Blue Yeti. The Blue Yeti is an example of a condenser mic, if I remember correctly. I have a blue. I take that back. I think the Blue Yeti is in fact dynamic, because I have a dynamic mic over there on the Mac side, and it's a Logitech G, and it's dynamic because I'm speaking to the top of it, not in its front. So, but keep that in mind. A dynamic mic is designed only to pick up really what's on the top, what's coming in from the top. So the fact that he didn't hear this, and that clear.
Marble. That's clearly going up bank. The problem is with this pub is you don't have an horizon for reference. You've got no way of centering your brain. You haven't got an horizon to be able to understand which is the right way up.
And in the clip that he shared with everybody, he didn't have the wacky music behind it. So yeah, that is very nearly interesting. And I wanted to make sure I shared that out. And again, I'm going to give another shout out to Tez over at Very Nearly Interesting. Very kind of him to give me the time code for it and to make that a little easier for me to share with you all. All right. You know what? I think that will wrap it up. I think that's going to wrap it up for this segment. I do have another clip, but I think I'm going to save it for next week because I want to tinker with that clip a little bit. Because for me, what was being pointed out in the clip, I think I need to take a closer look at it. So I'm going to save that one for episode 8 of the Grim Gazette. But yeah, I'm really hoping that it was an honest to God mistake that the Ghost Brothers and Expedition X did, because the investigation of the Eloise Asylum just outside of Detroit was a pretty amazing experience. And I think that Josh and Jess, because Josh was in that investigation, and Josh, Jess, and Phil all handled it like pros. I really enjoyed their investigation of that. But I'm a big fan of the Ghost Brothers. I'm a big fan of Expedition X. That was a rookie move. And even my wife said, wait a minute, they're on walkies. Why are they looking at a REM pod and they're on walkies? And that's one of the first things that when you're watching, was that the only issue with the real issue with the entire investigation. The other thing that I'm noticing more and more with Ghost Brothers is, you know, that is also a possibility that they might have known and hoped we wouldn't know. And again, that gets back to my fear when I started doing the Grim Gazette. If I was going to debunk people, especially people that I respected, I want to make sure that I'm not misinterpreted as being one of those bitter ass paranormal investigators. Like, it's like, yeah, you know, typical network, you know, making money and doing a living. No, that's not where I'm coming from. My thoughts are, I want to make sure that their I's are dotted and T's are crossed, because I trust these guys. And I don't think anything else. I can tell if someone is like super distrustful. You seem pretty much above board, but I think it's it is a fair expectation that we should trust their judgment. And I think that's what makes Jack Osborne, in my opinion, one of the best out there, because you see it in every episode. The moment the REM pod goes off, first thing out of his mouth is anybody on walkies? Is anybody on walkie-talkie right now? He always checks. Even when it's not portals to hell, he's always checking. And I really dig that. I dig that. Thank you, Bonnie, for that unofficial Doug rate of 1. I appreciate you. As far as it being the only real issue, one of the things that I wish the Ghost Hunters would, the Ghost Brothers would do is they seem very reliant on they seem very reliant on phone-driven apps. Their Spirit Box is an app. They're using a lot of that tech, and because your phone isn't necessarily a radio, I just kind of wish they would go on ahead and get an actual Spirit Box and use that. Apart from that, the rest of the investigation was actually pretty good. However, I don't mind saying this, John, that happened near the beginning, and it really did kind of cloud my judgment and jade my opinion about that particular investigation, because I'm like, come on, guys, you would know better. You would know better. If they didn't, and they're finding out first time ever on Grim Gazette, then hey guys, how you doing? I'm T. I work with OSI, and I would love to have you guys work with us. But as far as the rest of the investigation, what I thought I had a clip of, but it turns out I didn't, was they were using the app-driven Spirit Box, and they actually got the word beaver. And they were dealing with the hat. This was Marcus and Phil. They were dealing with the hat, which was a beaver pelt hat. And the fact that out of all the random words for it to say beaver, that's pretty amazing. It's just the thing with the REM pod really threw me for a loop. And I went, come on, guys. And so I'm hoping that they will, if they don't get educated by the Grim Gazette, I will hope that somebody will take it to them in a very subtle manner and not out them at a convention or anything like that. That type of stuff drives me bananas. When people get brought to task in a public forum. This is a public forum. What am I doing? It's when it's in a Q&A session and people do like gotcha questions. Here's a good example. I'm planning to go to a Q&A for Project Fear, and I want to ask them a simple question. I'm going to be setting it up by talking about what happened at the Conjuring House. But what I'm not going to do is ask them in a live crowd with a bunch of people, so do you think Satori and Cody are faking it? And I just know some yuccaputts at one of these Paracons is going to try to corner Jason, whether it's during a Q&A or whether it's at a signing booth, and he's going to ask that question. Why are you letting Satori and Cody, besmirch the great name of Taps? Someone's going to do that. And the reason I know this, I think I shared this with you all on a previous stream. I at one time was doing a workshop alongside Lonnie Tupu. Lonnie Tupu was Commander Crace and the voice of Pilot in Farscape. And we were doing a workshop together. And part of the perks of doing that was that I got a chance to sit and share a table with him. So I got to see him deal with the general public as he was signing autographs and stuff. And some people would come up, not buy anything, not purchase an autograph, but grill him, hold Lonnie responsible for some of the writing choices of the series. And I'm sitting there going, dude. And it was like there was no filter. And the line between that kind of fan of science fiction and that kind of fan of the paranormal, that is paper thin. And I'm talking about that real crepe paper. You know, it's just the kind of paper you can see through. It's that thin. And I would not do that to Jason Hawes. I would love to have a one-on-one with Jason, just us. But what I do, there are two reasons why I wouldn't do that. One, that is rude AF. Absolutely rude AF to do that to somebody. Second, Jason Hawes is my age and he is twice my size. And I'm not talking about he's got the fenderless belly. He is stacked, jacked, and packed. He looks great for a man of his age. And that roly-poly ghost hunter that you see in the early seasons of Ghost Hunters, yeah, that's in his rear view. He looks jacked. He looks great. I bet you he could bench press me if he wanted to. Which means if some yuccaputz tried to do that at his autographing table, that man is taking his life into his own hands. I mean, one of the stories that Jason told, where he talks about how it's not the dead that scare him so much as the living. There was a ghost. There was an investigation that they went on, not necessarily for the Ghost Hunter show, but for TAPS, and it was him, Steve, Tango, and I think two of the girls were with him. Not his daughters, but two of the women that were on the team. And they were wrapping up, and the guy just said, "You can't leave." And they were like, "Sorry?" And they were like, "No, you can't leave." And the dude was serious. He just had that vacant look in his eyes and just said, "You can't leave." And Jason walked up to him and just cold cocked him. Bam! And the guy, one punch, and he was down. Yes, Aurelius. He is the Dwayne Johnson. He is the Rock of the paranormal. Yeah. But he decks this guy. He falls, and then, Dave and Steve kind of look at each other, and they look at Jason. Jason's like, "Well, step over him." They just stepped over him. I mean, he's telling the story, and I am losing it because I'm like, yeah, I could see that. And I mean, I would not want to challenge Jason in that way. And if I was lucky enough to have like beers with Jason or something like that, that wouldn't be what I'd lead with. I'd want to work up to something like that. And even then, I would just go so gentle with that topic. But it's gonna be a hot button. And someone did poke that bear when they said this thing that Satori and Cody can do, and everybody on there had the same stock answer. We don't know how they do it. We don't know how they do it. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you for the lurk. I appreciate it. But in this particular case, I'm okay with saying I still love the Ghost Brothers. I still love Expedition X. I'm really hoping that what happened here was either a huge mistake, because yes, there is some science to it. I do believe there is some science to this, but we're all learning. And I didn't know that I really did not know that about REM pods and walkie-talkies. And like I did, and I that's why I showed that. I showed that clip to the folks at the Candy Factory to say, yeah, I figured out that walkies were a trigger for the REM pod. But then I showed them another clip where I'm nowhere near the REM pod, The REM pod's behind me in the background. The train is coming in. I'm not on walkie, and it's going off. It's going off. So yeah, I feel like we're all learning this as we go. And I'm just crossing my fingers that the folks at Expedition X and the Ghost Brothers legitimately did not know, because I could also tell from the way it was being edited, there were some tight edits in there. And
shovel.
Could it have potentially been the train triggering it? I thought about that too, and I'm like, well, yeah, they have radios on the train. They have people on walkie on the train, but the train is nowhere near the REM pod. The train is so far away from the REM pod. There's want to know why I really don't believe it's the train? Let me go on ahead and show you the clip that kind of cinched it for me. It's right up here. And ironically, I'm struggling with the SB11. I was missing a few steps, which is why I made the 5 Minute Paranormal. And this is how you set up your SB11, and because it was here, I was setting it up improperly. But let me go ahead and show you. Let me show you where, for me, I was like, okay, that's not the train setting it off, and that's not me setting it off. So, returning to this investigation, this is part 2 of the Candy Factory, and I'll just let this clip play.
Does it make you happy to see so many people here? There's a millimeter. Watch. I thought I heard you say, well, shoot. Train's coming in. Train's coming in, and it's going off. You know what that is? And look at where it's placed. Back.
So, where it is in relation, we are now a floor above it, so we're even further away from the train. And I'm not even near the wall. And so the train is coming in, and that REM pod is going off. It's firing off. And so this was the this was the linchpin for me that said, okay, this is working here. This is legit. Because the earlier clip that we had in this sequence, we were on the same bathroom that you saw me where I debunked myself. We weren't using any radios. Nobody was on a radio. Train pulls in, REM pod goes off. So we have the train showing up, REM pod reaction on 2 different floors, and then in various locations, we were getting on the spirit box, Edwin. And that was when we put together the train accident, kid named Edwin. He was killed there, you know. So I know that it's not the train setting off the REM pod. But, you know, strong radio sources, that's gonna affect it. That's gonna affect it. Great question though. Thank you, Bonnie. And so yeah, I that one I can say this one stung a bit, because I hate I hate debunking / calling out people that I really respect in this, but I should be able to do that. I should be able to say, hey guys, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you might want to check your P's and Q's on this one. And and I'd like to also think that what I did here, the way I present this to you all, it's done in a respectful and a courteous manner. And I say that with utter reverence because, again, I have mad fanboy love for Josh Gates, because we both agree about the 4th Indiana Jones film, and we both loved the Dial of Destiny and the way it ended. So there's that. Okay, with that, thank you all very much for joining me on this 7th episode, lucky 7th episode of the Grim Gazette, filmed live on Twitch, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, if you want to come in, be part of the chat, by all means, come ahead and check us out on Twitch. If you miss us on Twitch, if Tuesday night's a bad night, don't worry. This will be showing up in the OSI feed on Fridays. If I miss my Friday, it'll be Mondays, but you can always count on a new Grim Gazette. There may be, no. We'll be able to. We'll still be able to do Grim Gazette on the Friday of our premiere. And speaking of which, yes, that premiere is going to be on April 12th. We will be premiering part 1 of the Charleston investigation as our premiere of season 3 of Old Spirits. And then the following day, we have at least one investigation. It might be 2, but we're going to have at least one investigation live from Clifton Forge, Virginia, which you're going to find out more about as we get closer to the event. And then the following Sunday, April 14th, I will be back from Clifton Forge. I'll be sitting down here in the camera. I will be multi-streaming for both YouTube and Twitch. And we can have a sit down and talk a little bit about the weekend on a whole, what you thought of it, how we can improve it, and what we can do, right? And yeah, that's the long and short of it. Thank you all so much for joining me on this episode of the Grim Gazette. As always, stay weird.